Luz finally learns another spell. Oh man, it only took, it only took her 4 episodes to learn one. Takes her 8 episodes to learn two. Yeah, this is episode 12 of the Owl House. Adventures in the Elements. This is another one of my favorite episodes. I really like the simplicity yet creativity of this episode because really it's just a trip up a mountain to train, but what they do there, and what how Luce learns her second spell and what she kind of discovers about magic in general and everything of that is it's really fun. It's a really fun episode. So basically Luce is getting really excited to go to Hexside because Eden Boulder a few episodes ago, and so she's getting ready to finally go to school. I mean, she isn't going to school that day. She's just it's coming up really. So she's really excited about that, and then but then she actually remembers. She's excited. She's like, oh, I can't wait to go to school with Gus, Willow, and maybe even with Amity. And this is my favorite line of the episode. It's such a good line, and I think it's a. I mean, I think it's one and the fan base really likes too. It's
Amity! Oh, cramity!
And yeah, so we get Amity's back in this episode. And her siblings, Emma and Edric, they're back too. Um, and it's because you remember at the end of episode 7, Luce gave Amity her book so Amity can read it, and so they're meeting up to like Luce and Amity are meeting back up so Amity can give Luce her book back, and I like the continuity of that. Although the only question I have is we haven't seen Amity since that episode, so are we to assume that they haven't talked to each other since, or did Amity bump into Luce sometime in between and say, hey, I'll give you it back on this day or whatever. Sorry, overthinking this. So obviously, they talk about the book for a sec. And even Emma and Edric are, they obviously say hi to Luce. Actually, it's rather weird because Luce sees Amity and she's running up to him, and then Emma and Edric just jump in front of her, and Luce just drops down in fright. And Amity, and of course, and they're there because, as Amity put it, they want to make up for the library incident. So I'm guessing they kind of figured out what happened after they left. So, and they Edric even says, and we still apologize for it every day. But so then after Luce and Amity talk about the book, then Luce obviously drops the bombshell that she's gonna go to school with Amity to Hexside, and Amity at first is like, wait, you. It's like she's like, you do realize you have to take a placement exam, and in order to get into the main part of Hexside, you need to have at least mastered 2 spells, and of course, Luce only has one, which is her light glyph. So, Luce then kind of realizes, crap, I need to finally learn my second spell. And so, you know, we got that problem with that. And this is to make matters worse. If Luce doesn't learn 2 spells, she has to be put in the baby class. Like they emphasize it so much in this episode, and I love it. I love it at the same time. I hate it just because it's like, what is the baby class? It's like, from what I could possibly imagine, it's like in episode 3 when when Ida finds out that Luce is at school in that episode, like she runs up to a window, and like in it is like a little kindergarten class talking, and it's like if I have to assume that's the baby class. And honestly, I wish it's one of those moments where you wish you could see like an image in Luce's head of like her in a baby class in that. It would have been so funny, but I guess I guess it was just more of the shock value in that moment, just being like, oh, cramity. I just love that line. And so obviously though, Luce doesn't say that she only knows the one spell. She's like, oh yeah, I've totally mastered another one. So of course she goes back to the owl house and tells Ida, like she's like, I can't, if she's like, I need to learn another dispel right now. It's like I only know the light spell. That's all. And then Ida's like, well, whose fault is that? And Luce is like face plant on the ground because she's so distraught with everything, and so like she's still face down on the ground. She just points up to Ida, and it's like, yeah, like I said, Ida's like, whose fault is that? And Luce is just like, yours. And it's just Ida, obviously, Ida's like, yeah, you got me there, so. And then, of course, Luce then kind of challenges Ida's pride by saying, how would it look that your apprentice, you being the most powerful witch on the Isles, and your apprentice was in the baby class? And he is like, like the way you think. So Ida says that in order for Luce to learn a second spell, they're going to have to do magic boot camp, which is really just a trip to the mountaintop of which is the knee of the Titan. I said this in the second episode when we saw the Titan, like how his knee is sticking up in the sky and it's a mountain, and so Ida tells Luce that this is a very 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 sacred place for like magic, and like it really, you can learn a lot up there, and it's a really cool design too. Like when they're on the mountain and when they're climbing up, like there's these ruins, there's a lot of cool areas, and then of course they also have their own beast. They're the Slither beast. It's this. It's like an it's an abominable snowman, really, but it's on all fours and it's blind. Like it doesn't have eyes here, but when it opens its mouth, that's where then there's like these little blue eyes. Like there's four of them, I think. I remember, if I do remember, yeah. It's really cool design, and it's like it's pretty creepy. Like Ida says, well, if you don't bother it, it won't bother you. So Luce is like, okay. So they go up to the mountaintop, and they obviously think, they're alone. And Luce even spats that out, like, and we're alone. And right as she says that, she almost gets blasted in the face by a rogue fire blast, which came from, you can probably guess, Amity and the Amity are her siblings. And of course, so Amity, Emra, and Edric, they're up there training on the knee as well, because Amity is doing her test, and she says that she's trying to break Emra and Edric's high score, but they tease her saying that's impossible. And Edric's like, Amity still has to use a training wand. First time we really seen a wand in this series. Was like, so it's pretty much the same. It's a wand, but unlike just a magic wand where you just do magic, like apparently it has its own storage of magic already within the wand. Like it has this like battery like thing. So Amity's only using the magic within that one, along with her magic, I guess, to do spells and stuff. And really, she did fire. She did a shield spell in one scene where she's like doing a series of defenses against the twins. Like there's, it's a pretty simple thing, but while that's going on, Ida is teaching Luce how to do magic, and for the most part, Ida admits it in this episode, her teachings are rather weird. Honestly, when I saw this for the first time, I was like, this is like a geology. Is this magic, or is this a geology course? Because Ida has Luce like identify multiple different types of snow, because there's multiple different types of snow besides white and yellow. Rocks, I think she said fungus or something. And then also, she also had her order sticks by size too. That was weird. And then she even loses her hand at one point, and so Luce has to retrieve it. But Ida, of course, it seemed it's all part of the process for Ida, and so yeah. While that's going on, King's at the Owl House, and like when Ida said Magic Boot Camp, King obviously is like, oh, I want to be in charge of that, and Ida's like, nope, because you know, you can't handle it, two, you're gonna distract us when you're being adorable. And of course King screams, I'm not adorable. And then on cue Luce is like, oh, he's stomping his little feet. Or so King's at the house, and so he decides to prove Ida wrong by training his own boot camp. And so what he does is, Ida had this potion that allows objects to come to life. She tried it early in the episode where she tries to cook. And she poured the potion over the vegetables, and she's like, "All right, everyone in the pot." And obviously they didn't listen. They take off, and she's like, "Why do I always think that's gonna work?" So King does the same thing with all the toys that are around the house. They're really just there was an elephant, there's a bunny, there's a teddy bear, there's the beef boy figurine that they used in episode 6. And so King basically has those under his control, and he doesn't really do anything with them. He just has them give him snacks and stuff. And not surprising that they turn on him. uh, yeah, it's like if Toy Story really grew dark with the Sid thing in the first movie. But yeah. Anyway, back on the knee. Luce is kind of annoyed with Ida's teachings, because yeah. So Ida then tells Luce, if you really want to learn magic, then you have to make a connection with the island. You have to commit. She's like, that's the thing. It's like magic is making that connection with with the source of magic, which is of course the Titan. Is like the Titan. The Titan was a great powerful being, but when it died, its power became the land. That's basically what Ida's implying in this. And so, she has Luce sit on top of a cliff, looking off to the vast distance, and she's like, wait, she's like, be patient and let it connect to you. And Luce is like, she does hand puppets, and it's just like, don't think like, she's like,
Focus. Focus? On what? On how you'll be stuck in the baby class? No! Don't think like that! Face it! You'll never get a second spell following Ida's lessons. Silence, hands!
Basically, she's very impatient, and so obviously multiple times she looks back at Amity training with the training wand, and so you can kind of imagine what happens. Luce is very impatient, so she decides to borrow Amity's training wand when Amity, Edric, and Emma are distracted, because Edric finds a bat and he wants it as a pet. Or no, he's like, he's like, found a bat, can we eat it? No. Well, if we can't eat it, you can at least have it as a pet. And it's like, no, don't stop. It's just, so Luce sneaks into their area and takes Amity's wand, and then she starts using magic. And of course, it has its own source of magic, she's able to make a circle and fire off spells and stuff, and so she's really excited. But of course, Ida catches her in the act, and she's like, you're not going to learn anything with that. And so I kind of the lesson with that is you don't do shortcuts. I grew up training. I grew up playing a lot of sports and doing a lot of different activities that required the time and patience to do them. And if you tried shortcuts, it usually would backfire a lot. And in this case, for Luce, it backfires because she shows off her power, or the power of the wand, and she accidentally hits the slither beast. The fire spell just flies off in the distance. You just hear a boom, and then you just hear a giant roar, and then the slither beast literally leaps from where it was hit and just lands in front of him. And Edith's just like, you angered the slither beast. Yeah. So Emra, Edric, and Amity come back, and they're like, Amity's obviously like, is that my wand? What are you doing with my wand? And so, Luce doesn't really explain. She's just like, and Amity gives that look of it's like a look of betrayal, but at the same time a look of anger. So it's it's like, how could you do this and stuff? And Emma and Edric, they see the Slither Beast, and so what they try to, so the original plan was Emma and Edric, they cast like rope spells basically to hold down the beast, while Amity delivers a finishing blow with their fire spell from the training wand. But the training wand is out of magic because Luce used it all up. And Luce's defense was, I didn't know it did that. So obvious. And then of course it's on the loose. I'm surprised Eden didn't wait. Oh wait, yeah, because the beast grabbed Ida, so it was Emma, Edric, Amity, and Luce who were left on the ground, and so it was up to Luce to do anything, and so obviously it's that moment where she has to admit that she doesn't know any actual other spells besides her light spell, and of course the beast takes Emma and Edric, so it's just Amity and Luce now, and the beast takes off, and so Luce and Amity, like Luce is like, what do we do? Amity says, I'm going after them, you're staying here. And Luce is like, but it's got to eat it. And Amity is like, well, because of you, it also has my brother and sister. Just stay here. And I do like this line too. She's like, you'll just get hurt. So she then casts this barrier spell and like traps Luce in it. And so Luce is stuck inside, and of course she gets more frustrated with what she did, and she's like, you were supposed to teach me. Like, she looks off to the vast distance again, and she's like basically talking to the Titan. Really, she's like, you were supposed to teach me something, but all I'll learn is this. So like she does her light glyph and like casts it and sets it up to the sky, and when she then looks up as the light glyph goes into the night sky, and then she notices a bunch of stars starting to form, and it creates this constellation that's the light glyph. And so Luce realizes that at that moment, magic is kind of really part of the island, and magic in a way is everywhere. Like, because, like I said, they made the constellation up in the sky. So then as she's looking up, she's really shocked, but then a snowflake lands on her hand, and she looks at it, and on the snowflake is a glyph. And so she then realizes, yeah, magic truly is everywhere. And so she then grabs a stick, makes the glyph in the snow, and then an ice pillar pops up, and that's Luce's second spell. And it's, again, I like how it's I didn't expect that to be her second spell when I first watched this whole thing, because I was like, well, what would you go from light to? It's like, I obviously had no idea what we could have possibly gone through with that, but ice is cool. I didn't mean to make that pun. Oh, I hate myself right now. Okay, so Luce then creates a giant glyph of the ice spell and jumps on it, and so the pillar raises her above the barriers, launches her in the sky, and I like the music, and I just like the whole bit, like, Luce just is flying in the sky, and she's just like woo, and then like obviously she falls into the snow and just crashes.
Magic is everywhere. My second spell! Thank you, Snow. Thank you, Island. Thank you, Ida.
But it's a cool moment. I think I don't know how many people are gonna actually look back on this moment and say, "Wow, that was a cool moment." But in person, I feel like for each spell Luce learns, it's a cool moment. She learns a few more spells in the season, and personally, I feel like though when she learns those, they're not as grand, like as this one and the first one. But I guess the more spells she learns, the more it's gonna be, But obviously, so she gets out of the barrier and she goes after Amity and Co. Meanwhile, back at the Owl House, where King is trying not to be killed by the toys that he created, he gets thrown out of the house. And so Hooty, who wanted to join at the beginning of the episode, he's like, King's like, no, you are too desperate. And so obviously he's like, hey, Hooty, you can join the boot camp. And I love Hooty. He's just so petty. He's like, nah. And then King's like, "What? You picked the joint?" And now he's like, Hootie's like, "Yeah, but now I'm playing hard to get." It's just so King. It's like basically King does a favor for him, but again, it's a simple one. He just draws like a little thing for Hootie, and it's a weird one too. Like it's a guy with his butt kind of sticking out towards them, but then Hootie opens the door and just goes in and just massacres the place. Really. Like he just rips the toys to shreds, and we don't see it. But honestly, I think it's better we don't see it. It's funny. It's like but it's creepy and terrifying. But yeah. So meanwhile, back on the mountain, Luce finds the cave that the Slither Beast took Emerald, Edric, and Ida in, and the Beast kind of puts him up against this. Like he has like this. I would say it's like adhesive spit, like because he spits at the rocks, and it sticks, and then he places the three on there, and they're stuck. And then I love this, and Emma is like, "Don't worry, we'll be fine." Then like a skeleton crashes down in front of him, and Edric's like, "Nope, we're gonna die." So then Luce comes in, tells it like she says everything's under control. She's got a plan, and then Ida's like, "Luce, get out of here. I'm just gonna sneak off when this thing starts eating the twins." Obviously, they hear that and they're like, "What?" But Luce tells Ida that she was so busy she was so focused on wanting to learn that she didn't realize that she should have just been paying attention and being patient. And so she goes off, and of course Ida is like, "Oh, let's see. At least I got to see her overconfident attitude one last time." Or, but Luce and Amity, Luce finds Amity, and of course Amity is a little confused how Luce got out of the barrier. But of course they toss it out the window pretty quickly because they come up with a plan. And so Luce basically distracts the Beast, like, and lures it outside while Amity frees Emera, Edric, and Ida. And little cool moment for Amity, like they tell her to use the fire spell, but she is obviously scared because she feels like she can't do it without the wand, but they encourage her to do so, and she does it and gets him out. And so then back outside, Luce lures the Beast outside, and it's on top of pretty much a gigantic ice cliff that of course she steps on, and the Beast gets launched into the air. It's not the finishing blow, it comes back down, hits the ground, but then it gets right back up. And of course that's when Ida, Emma, and Edric, Amity get outside, and then Ida's like, "You want to see something cool?" And of course the group's like, "Yes, please." So then Ida does this cool she does this over the top, I feel like, motion of her glyph or her spell, and then it's a sleep spell and fires it at the Beast goes down. And of course Luce is like, "Yeah, that's my teacher that I definitely wasn't crapping on earlier." um yeah, so right then and there, like they pretty much like, "Well, that's settled." And then Amity is like, "Well, it looks like we'll be in the same class." And I did like the face that she had. She's like, she's rather happy, but at the right time she's just like, "Yeah, well, looks like we'll be in the same class." And then I they decide to do an Azora book, like they talk about it earlier, but then we hear Luce is like, "Can we do an Azora book club?" And Amity's like, "As long as it's a secret." And then Edric's like, "It's not a secret." And Amity's like, "We're gonna tell everybody." And Amity blushes at that too. But yeah. So then they go back to the Howl House, and they obviously see it as a massacre. And then Hootie's like, I love I love the moment between King and Hootie, but then when like Ida and Luce come in, it just continues getting weirder. And then the final line that Hootie says is also just gold. He's like,
"I will be haunted by my actions forever. Hoot hoot!"
Oh, it's so funny. It's Hootie's this Hootie's creepy in some moments, but he's funny in others. It's that fun balance between his character. But yeah, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. And like I said, it's one of my favorite episodes. It's just and because one, it's a new location we went to, the knee. It's a really cool. It's really basic, but it's just the fact that it's on an actual knee. Like it's not a mountain. It's like an actual limb of a body that we're on top of, and it's cool to see these ruins and just really just make you wonder like what else could be there and stuff. And I imagine we're gonna return to this place in the second season or the third season or whenever the heck. But for now, yeah, it was a really cool episode. Luce learns her second spell. Like I said, it was a really cool moment to have her have that for her to have. Amity, she and Amity once again kind of work together in a moment. I felt like well, actually, what am I saying? Yeah, the like Amity pops up. Amity shows up in more episodes down the line, obviously, but I felt like maybe there could have been an episode with them in between these, maybe or something like just a little saying or something. I don't know, but Ember and Edric in this one, they weren't as rude as they were in Lost's Language, but they were still siblings, so you know how that goes. But overall, yeah, I thought it was a fun episode, and like I said in the last video, the next pretty much nearly all the rest of the episodes in the season are really really good. Yeah, so we'll see you guys in the next video then.